Oh my god. Come on! Come on! On quickly. 12-second Pyromaniac. C-caps today. Yeah, that was fitting.
I'm sinking under, drowning faster. Please just let me breathe. The air is leaving and I'm lost in need of you again. You break me down and you make me surrender. We are as Romeo and
Turns on, very good.
so many years have passed the day.
The battle suits is on him, huge.
And promised we'd never separate, but it seems the time has come that you're
Nice,
on my
good shit, guys.
with no hope to find.
Yo guys, what is up? Mike's in our first Descendant video, and today we are going over my guide for the Executor Shotgun. This thing just received one of the largest buffs that we've ever seen in the first Descendant, and it is now an incredibly powerful option for bossing with specific Descendants like Gley. But we're also going to be talking about how to use this on any Descendant and have it as just a tool that you can use to kill elites incredibly quickly. Hope you guys enjoy the full breakdown. Let's get right into it. So the first thing to talk about is the Executor's unique ability. It reads, on hitting the enemy with all fired bullets, grant the unique ability Executor's Exaltation. When hitting at the maximum level, the weak point damage multiplier is increased and applied, and the target enemy is afflicted with the electrocuted effect. So, if you have it at like not max ranked, you're going to have a hipfire accuracy penalty and an aimed shot accuracy penalty. As you rank it up, that penalty goes away. And this is definitely a weapon that you really want to have maxed rank. It massively benefits from it. And that is because it's going to be getting all of its damage buffs increasing as you're getting more ranks. So for example, this like firearm critical hit rate starts out in like the 20% when you're at 0 out of 4, and all of its damage buffs are going to be stacking up incrementally as you upgrade this weapon more and more. But just to read it out, its Executor's Exaltation is a 5-second buff that can stack up to 3 times. So you want to land all of your pellets on a enemy or boss 3 times. You're going to be getting increased accuracy with more accuracy per stack. So as you're firing this thing, it's actually getting more accurate. It's going to be stacking up crit hit rate. This is flat crit rate, which is disgusting. So you actually do not need a critical hit mod on this thing at all, which we'll talk about in a second. You're getting 33% more critical hit rate per stack, which is also insane. You're getting 30% critical hit damage and then 30% critical hit damage per stack. And then you're also going to be getting increased fire rate. This weapon can fire very quickly once you're at full stacks, which makes its damage even more potent. And you're going to get, when you're at maximum stacks, 20% more weak point damage. This thing, once it's fully built and fully stacked up, is an absolute monster. And you're also going to be proccing electrocution on enemies. This damage is not to be slept on. When you're at full stacks, you're going to be proccing electrocution, which you can refresh. It's going to be a dot that ticks every 0.5 seconds for 100% of your firearm damage, and it strips enemies' defense. All of these things together, if you hold down the trigger and you're aimed at something in this game, they are not going to have a very good time. The DPS that this thing whips out is kind of ridiculous, and that is why we're able to do the crazy damage that we're able to do with it. So the first thing I want to show you is this weapon with absolutely no mods on it. We're going to check out its crit hit chance, which it has a 1% critical hit rate, right? And you just saw that it gets 33% critical hit rate per stack with 3 stacks. So once we start shooting this thing at an enemy, you'll start to note there's our fire rate and there is our critical hits. And if we go and inspect with 0 mods on, absolutely nothing, this weapon reaches 100% critical hit rate. And one, that's insane, obviously, because when we're critting, we're stacking up crit damage, we're getting a huge multiplier, but also it saves you so many mods on your weapon build because we do not need to go a single critical hit mod on the weapon, which allows us to invest in a whole ton of other damage options. So the first build that we're going to be going over is for Gley. Specifically, Gley has some quality of life things that other characters don't have, mainly that she can fire this thing infinitely and never run out of ammo, where other characters might want to worry about mag size or ammo. Gley can just go full DPS with this thing. Now, feel like I've set up like kind of the perfect build for this, because the way that all of our mods are catalyzed is we're able to socket any elemental mod that we want without having to catalyze for specific mods. So we have 17 space, which means that what I was doing for like the boss kills is if I was going to go fight Pyromancer, I'd throw on Chill. If I was going to go fight Devour, I'd throw on Electric. If I was going to go fight Dead Bride, I'd put on Fire. And having that flexibility without having to catalyze a slot multiple times is so great feeling. And this is the first weapon that I've been able to achieve this on. And so the flexibility for bossing that brings is fantastic. And really, really happy with the way that came out. Now, we get to talk about some more interesting mods and some mods that are more specific to this shotgun. And the first is Shell Up. Now, Shell Up reads your shell capacity plus 33%. This is not mag size. This is 33% more pellets in your shot. So this is pretty much like a 33% damage increase. You'll see in the DPS, if we take this off, we lose 100,000 damage. And once again, the DPS meter is not something to like go off of, but Shell Up, there's never a reason to not be using this on shotguns. It's just straight up way more damage. And with the Executor's Exaltation and some of the mods we're going to be using, the more pellets we're shooting, the better. So great option there. Next up, your classics, Rifle Reinforcement, Action and Reaction. We're going to want as much damage as possible on this thing. Next, we get to our 2 crit mods. That's going to be Better Concentration and Concentration Priority. Both of these are going to give us a ton more crit damage, which is obviously really important because we have a 100% crit hit rate. Next, we're going to be using, we'll talk about our gold mod in a second. We're going to be using Fire Rate Up. Once again, we're Gley. We can infinite fire. Having more fire rate is just more damage for us. And then we've got our 2 weak point mods, Weak Point Sight and Focus Fire. Note that you can use like the equivalent of have aiming for the Executor. I didn't think it was necessary and didn't want to take another accuracy hit because we are using real life fighter, and I'll talk about why we're using this and why this mod is so good for this shotgun in a second. But that is kind of the build, and then we can go into our stats and you'll see that we are at a 1.92x crit multiplier with 1.55 weak point damage. And we got 8 rounds in the mag, 145 fire rate, and our attack drop-off starts at 9 meters. This is something really important to note because this is a shotgun. You will do way less damage, and the drop-off is very severe if you're not close to enemies. If you're trying to kill bosses with this, you'll note if we look at our like damage drop-off graph, it drops off of a cliff. You really want to stay as close as possible to bosses to deal as much damage as possible with this thing. So now let's talk about gold mods and the reason why we're using Real Life Fighter. This, from my testing, is just the absolute best mod that you can use with this thing. And Real Life Fighter reads, upon successfully attacking a weak point, firearm attack plus 10% for 5 seconds, up to 10 stacks, but lose 2 stacks per failed weak point attack. This gives us 100% firearm attack when it's fully stacked. And the cool thing about shotguns is it is per pellet. So that, I didn't hit all my shots there, but that was 8 stacks of Real Life Fighter. Now that's 10. You can hit 4 full stacks of Real Life Fighter with a single shot. That's 10 stacks. Let's let them go away. There's another 10 stacks. You're starting to see where this is going. You're able to get a 100% damage buff in a single shot, and we're firing a bunch of pellets out. So even if we've got pellets missing, it's very easy to keep this up on the upper tiers of stacking because, one, we're going to be barrel stuffing enemies, so the minus accuracy doesn't matter as much for that, but also we're able to get this buff up very high, very consistent, And where this weapon really shines is when a boss is downed. You're going to want to get to really close to them and barrel stuff them. And this giving us 100% more damage is just absolutely disgusting for it. The other mods that I did test that I don't recommend using, for example, Special Sight. This is a good mod if you're concerned about your accuracy or hitting your shots. Special Sight is probably what I'd substitute this with, but it's just less damage. Strengthen first shot and weak point expansion, both are only for one shot. They aren't going to be good consistent damage, and we're trying to like pump up as much damage as fast as possible. The Executor is not like a pump action shotgun. It is a like fully fast firing shotgun, so we're gonna want things that are buff up all the time. That's another reason why like dopaminergic is bad for this. You could use, for example, another thing that you could use if you wanted to is the like electric conductor. We do proc electrocution. This is, I believe, a like 26% damage buff. So it's a solid buff. It'll be consistent, but it's nowhere near the damage of Real Life Fighter. And we're able to stack Real Life Fighter very, very quickly. Lastly, Unstoppable Smasher. Definitely not worth for this. We're using it for bossing. We're not defeating enemies. We're not going to be shooting at ads. We're just trying to plow the boss with as much damage as we possibly can. Next, we get the like anybody else shotgun build. Now, the goal that I had with this build wasn't to give Bunny a shotgun that she can down devour with instantly. This is, you know, one of the best tools that we've had to kill elites and tanky enemies quickly. Obviously, the biggest thing with using this weapon on anyone besides Gley, even Enzo, is ammo struggles. This weapon fires very quickly. You will deplete your ammo very fast. If you're refilling, if you're spawning in with a maximum of 10 ammo. That is one magazine plus 2 shots. And so ammo is a large concern with this weapon. And the way that I wanted to set this up is basically just to have a weapon that you can have in your back pocket. If you're playing Bunny, if you're playing Valby, if you're playing anyone, and there's a tanky enemy, you just bring this thing out, delete that elite, delete whatever is in front of you, and then put it away. And so we're going to be using some things that we once again have a lot of flexibility here. But the big change is instead of using fire rate, because we have low ammo, so going through our ammo extra fast, not like super important, but we're going to be using a general rounds charge improvement. You could use any rounds, special rounds, whatever. I'd pick general rounds because I'm using general rounds quite often. But when we are acquiring drop general rounds, we change to 1 high power round for every 200 rounds. Note that this does not deplete from your general rounds. It's not like if you're running a Thunder Cage with this thing, all of a sudden your Thunder Cage isn't going to be getting ammo. It's just whenever you drop ammo for your Thunder Cage, you have a chance to get that ammo for your shotgun. Or not a chance, a guaranteed ammo per like 200 drop. And usually when a white ammo brick drops, it's 200 rounds. So anytime an ammo brick drops, you're going to be getting it for the Executor. Now, the real important thing to understand with this is you have to be holding the Executor out to get the ammo. So if you see a bunch of ammo on the ground and you're going to want to go pick it up, just pull this shotgun out real quick, walk over it, and then you'll get extra ammo for it. And then the last slot here is really up to you. Obviously, we have that like full elemental flexibility, which is really nice. You could go fire rate here if you wanted to. You could go more mag size if you wanted to get like an extra 3 shots with it. Once again, you don't really need crit on this thing. So I kind of left it up to you because we have so much extra capacity, because we're using a bunch of low-cost mods. The availability to put whatever you want or custom this to your playstyle is fantastic. I personally would just put an element mod on it, because this thing is great at proccing elements, and elements scale off of crit damage, and we're dealing a lot of crit. So it kind of emphasizes that burst damage playstyle. And obviously fire rate is fantastic here, but once again, fire rate is kind of just going to drain our ammo supplies even faster. And, you know, could miss a shot a little bit with how rapid it's firing. So that is the anybody else build. Now for the best substats with the Executor, you're basically looking for exactly what I have rolled on mine, except obviously I don't have all gold, but you're looking for firearm attack, firearm crit damage, damage to Colossus, and weak point damage. Once again, you do not need critical hit chance at all. It's a dead stat on this thing, and we're going to be getting plenty of elemental damage, both from our electrocution and the fact that we can fit in any elemental mod. And so these are really the 4 stats that you absolutely want to go for If you can get them, I would prioritize trying to get crit damage and damage to Colossus, or firearm attack damage to Colossus, to like really min-max this thing. But those are the 4 stats you want on it. Next, we get to talk about best farms for this thing. I do have a 4 out of 4, so I have done a fair bit of farming for this. But for the Polymer Synctium, I personally, you have 2 great options here. You can run the Forgot Tents. You can run this in like 4 minutes. The great thing is this drops materials that you need for like energy catalyst, or sorry, crystallization catalyst. So that's what I personally ran for mine. But if you want to go a little bit faster, you can do Sepulcher. Sepulcher is very fast, and you kill Devour, which is like the easiest boss to kill off of it. So if you need materials, I would go Dead Bride, Forgot Tents. If you don't need materials, I would go Sepulcher, Devour. Next up, for the synthetic fiber, I farmed the Lumberyard's Vulgus Strategic Outpost. This has a 1-minute cooldown like all the other outposts, and it's next to a frontline base extermination mission that you can run in about a minute that drops HP Collector. So when I was farming this thing, I was doing the outpost, doing a quick run of this with Bunny to try to get a chance at HP Collector, and then do this again and just kind of go back and forth. This was actually a very productive farm, so I'd recommend this for its next piece. For the nanotube, I would recommend doing the Echo Swamp Muskegg Swamp Strategic Outpost. You need to farm this outpost anyways and kills for it to get the material that drops from the elite, and so you're kind of just getting double progress while farming this outpost and also getting the amorphous materials you need, which is very nice. And lastly, for the blueprint, you've kind of got 2 options. The first is the Echo Swamp Outpost in Derelict Covert. I got a bunch of materials for this because it also drops Secret Garden parts, and I needed to 4 out of 4 my Secret Garden, so I just ended up getting a bunch of pieces doing that. But there's also the like Kingston Grand Square one, which is another outpost that you need materials from, so you could farm this as well. Just in terms of being productive, I'd personally go for the Secret Garden one if you haven't gotten it 4 out of 4. And those are my recommendations. Guys, that is going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. I will have a updated Gley build guide out, hopefully shortly. I've been tweaking her a little bit to min-max her more for like maximum bossing, and also now that we've got a fantastic tool for her. So expect an updated Gley build guide soon. And I will catch y'all in the next one, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care. Bye.